The Dream of Greater Somalia, a history of unity and conflict. The Somali people are one of Africa's largest and most widespread ethnic groups. With a population of around 25.8 million, most live in Somalia, or the self-declared Republic of Somaliland. But the story doesn't end there. If we look beyond these two relatively homogeneous regions, there are still about 7.3 million Somalis living across the Horn of Africa, from Ethiopia and Djibouti to Kenya, and even Yemen's Socotra archipelago. This broader community forms what's known as Greater Somalia, a concept that isn't exactly new. Its roots stretch back over a century, all the way to the Dervish movement of the early 1900s. Since then, this dream of unity has been kept alive through generations, woven tightly with a powerful ideology: Somali nationalism. In 1977, that dream almost became reality. The Somali Democratic Republic went to war with Ethiopia, attempting to unite all Somali-populated regions under one flag. The war failed, and the aftermath plunged Somalia into decades of instability and civil war. Yet even today, the idea of Greater Somalia remains strong in the hearts of many Somalis, and that's exactly what we're diving into in this video. But first, let's define a key term: irredentism. Irredentism refers to a political movement where a state seeks to annex territory it believes historically or ethnically belongs to it. The word comes from the Italian irredento, meaning unredeemed, and originally referred to efforts by Italy to claim Austro-Hungarian lands with Italian populations in the 19th century. While ethnic nationalism is often the driving force, irredentism can also stem from historic claims. Some famous examples: Germany's annexation of the Sudetenland in 1938, Argentina's invasion of the Falklands in 1982, and Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014. You'll often hear Greater attached to such ambitions: Greater Hungary, Greater Serbia, Greater Morocco, and of course, Greater Somalia. The first major push for a unified Somali state came from Mohammed Abdullah Hassan, leader of the Dervish movement. A fiery religious leader and anti-colonial warrior, Hassan launched a jihad in the early 1900s to establish a state governed by the strict principles of the Salihiyya order of Sufi Islam. His call to expel the British, Italians, and Ethiopians united Somali clans under a single banner. At its height, the Dervish movement had around 25,000 followers. Although Hassan died in 1921, possibly from malaria or influenza, the dream of a united Somali nation didn't die with him. It even played a role in Italy's colonial ambitions. After World War I, the UK handed over part of the Jubaland Protectorate to Italy, rewarding it for siding with the Allies. This led to the creation of a short-lived colony called Trans-Juba, later folded into Italian Somaliland. Then came Mussolini. After conquering Ethiopia in 1937, he reorganized his East African colonies to include the Somali-majority Ogaden region, forming Italian East Africa. In 1940, Italy invaded and occupied British Somaliland, briefly realizing the vision of Greater Somalia, at least on paper. Mussolini even told visiting Somali leaders in Rome that Italy was helping them fulfill their national dream. But the British struck back in 1941, regaining all lost territory and defeating the Italians in East Africa, one of the first major Allied victories of World War II. In the aftermath, Italian Somaliland was placed under British military administration. But in 1948, the UK handed over the Ogaden to Ethiopia. When Emperor Haile Selassie visited the region, he declared that Somalis were by race, color, blood, and custom members of the Ethiopian family. He even encouraged the use of Amharic in Somali areas, a move that angered many. Meanwhile, the former Italian and British Somali territories merged in 1960 to form the Somali Republic. And that's when Mogadishu began actively pushing to reclaim lost Somali territories. By 1963, this ambition erupted in the Ogaden Uprising. Somali rebels, known as Nasrallah, meaning victory of God, seized control of nearly 70% of the region. Ethiopia eventually crushed the rebellion and launched retaliatory strikes on Somali territory. This led to the First Ogaden War in 1964, a border conflict sparked by decades of tension and unresolved territorial claims. Battles raged in the Hague, and though peace was brokered by Sudan a few months later, the wounds ran deep. At the same time, another conflict was brewing, this time in northeastern Kenya, in the area formerly known as the Jubaland Protectorate. Back when the British divided the Protectorate between Italy and their own colonies, they retained the northern half, which was predominantly Somali. In 1961, the Somali parliament passed a resolution welcoming unification with this Kenyan region. Kenyan independence leader Jomo Kenyatta would soon find himself facing Somali-backed insurgents, yet another chapter in the long story of irredentism and the pursuit of a greater Somalia.